Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. President Marcos is beyond disappointed over 2 flood control structures he saw up close in Bulakan today. Now he wants the contractors and government officials involved in the substandard projects held to account.
And over a resort encroaching on Chocolate Hills, the Office of the Obudsman recommends the filing of criminal charges against personalities who allowed the construction, including past and present Bhol officials.
And a Chinese vessel is spotted near Manila Bay, steadily moving to intercept the Philippine Coast Guard ship now on its way to the Scarborough Shoal.
Baka hindi na nakabaon, dumadaan yung tubig, tubig sa ilalim naman. Bakit ganitong ginawa nila? Pambira. This has been going on for years.
He came, he saw, and he was very displeased. President Bongbong Marcos was shocked at 2 completed flood control projects in Bulakan. He has directed contractors involved in the projects to explain their substandard work that cost millions of pesos in taxpayers' money. News 5's Rainiel Pawid has tonight's big story.
Yung baka na nandun sa loob, parang hindi na nakabaon sa lupa. Kaya dumadaan yung tubig, tubig sa ilalim naman. Nakita naman ninyo pagpasok namin dito. Tayo lahat, puro parang swamp na ito, hindi na puro tubig lang na makita mo eh.
The president was visibly dismayed over what he saw on Friday at a dike and a flood control project in Barangay Bulusan, Kalumpit, Bulacan. The project has been reported completed to the government, but the chief executive himself found literal holes in the structure. That plus a 200-meter discrepancy compared to the actual project specifications. Lots of questions as well in the overall build of the project. Marcos admitted that he had divers scour through the area and the observations were damning. The dike's foundation is substandard, cement thin, and surface uneven. This structure with the elements and continued use will surely give way to wear and tear in a matter of time. The river protection structure in Bulacan cost taxpayer more than 96 million pesos.
What possible excuse do they have for not doing this? Hindi ko maisip.
May dredging pa dapat.
Tapos, ito pa. Lahat ng flood control may kasamang dredging at saka desiltation. Anong sabi mo sa akin, Chairman? Ni minsan di ka pa nakakita ng desiltation dito.
The president also confirmed receiving a letter from a resident claiming that the dike was only fortified by water lilies. Right away, Marcos wanted the contractor to explain.
St. Timothy to. St. Timothy ang kontratista dito. Kaya titingnan natin, kailangan pasagutin natin kung bakit ganitong ginawa nila. Mas mabuti pa, dapat pumunta sila rito, pakita nila gano'ng kahirap ang buhay na binigay nila sa mga kababayan natin. Hindi pwedeng ganito. Pambira. This has been going on for years.
St. Timothy Construction Corporation was one of the 15 top-earning contractors bared by President Marcos in the presentation earlier this week. The company is linked to Curly and Sara Diskaya. Sara ran but lost to Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto in the recent midterm elections. Soto, with other local government officials such as Iloilo City Mayor Raisa Treñas, have criticized Diskaya-owned construction companies for their supposed substandard work since Marcos launched his Isumbong sa Pangulo website. Meantime, Marcos also inspected the flood control structure near the river in Barangay Frances, also in Kalumpit, Bulacan. The president was shocked when he held the side of the structure. He could easily crush parts of the concrete with his bare hands.
Hawakan ninyo, sa kamay kayang durugin. Malabnaw yung semento na ginamit. Nagtipid sa semento.
Marcos also noted that the thickness of the cement did not even reach half of the required 8 inches. The river likewise had a mound of soil at the center because apparently dredging was never conducted in the area despite the specification being in the contract.
Tignan naman ninyo, paano magiging completed yan? Tignan ninyo. May isla sa gitna. Tinutubuan na ng damo na napaka... Masukal na yan, yun.
Wawaw Builders won the contractor for this project for 77.1 million pesos. Wawaw, just like the Diskaya-led St. Timothy, are yet to respond to the president's observations and call for an explanation. Marcos said heads will roll and contractors held to account as soon as there's tangible proof of neglect in the projects. Rainiel Pawid, We Are One News.
Meantime, former Public Works Secretary Roelio Singon has suggested the suspension of all dredging projects, saying it is time to review river basin plans systematically to prevent recurring flooding. In an interview with Money Talks, the former DPWH chief emphasized that river management should follow the natural flow of river basins and not political boundaries. With this, he suggested that dredging projects be paused while these plans are being reviewed. Singon also urged the DPWH and National Irrigation Administration to build more water impounding structures upstream, pointing out that countries like Singapore and Malaysia use this method to manage heavy rainfall. Singon likewise questioned this year's budget for flood control at 350 billion pesos, which is nearly double of what he spent during his whole term. He raised concerns about how the funds are being used.
My full 6 years terms in DPWH, for flood control, I only spent 182 billion. Look at the 2025 budget with the insertion. The total for 1 year is 350 billion, just for 1 year. Dredging is where it went. That's why I'm suggesting suspend all dredging projects. Let's have a review whether this is part of the component of the river basin so that we are able to use it properly.
In other news, the Office of the Ombudsman has recommended the filing of graft charges against Bhol officials, including past and present governors. That's for their involvement in a Chocolate Hills resort case last year. The case stemmed from the controversial Captain's Peak Resort that was built at the foot of Chocolate Hills in Sagbayan Town, Bhol. The resort was given a business permit even without the required ECC or environmental compliance certificate. Among the past and incumbent officials who are to be indicted are Bhol Governor Erico Aristotle Aumentado and former governors Edgar Chato and Arthur Yap. The Ombudsman also ordered the dismissal of Mayor Restituto Suarez III, Zoning Administrator Maximo Lumusbog, and Municipal Building Official Alan Dinoy for conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service. These three will have their retirement benefits forfeited and are disqualified from government service. Those named by the Ombudsman have yet to comment on the issue, but Governor Aumentado in a social media post said he and other officials will be filing a motion for reconsideration. Aumentado also maintained he did not violate any law in this case and that when the issue of Captain's Peak came out in 2023, he immediately ordered an investigation.
Now let's get the reaction of the Bohol local government on the Ombudsman's decision. And joining us tonight is Bohol Provincial Legal Officer Handel Lagunay. Good evening to you and welcome to the Big Story.
Good evening, Ces. Good evening, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Sir, so the officials will be filing a motion for reconsideration. How will you defend yourselves in this case?
Yes, we will maintain that the governor and the officials, for example, the mayors who were just members of the executive committee but did not participate in the adoption of the second resolution, which expanded the Captain's Peak Resort, really do not have anything to do. And so they should be excluded from any liability. Their situation is different from those other officials who were present during the 2018 meeting of the PAMB. But for Governor Aris Aumentado and the mayors who just assumed office on June 30, 2022, and were not given notice about the meeting, should really be excluded. That is the main argument for the motion for reconsideration.
However, sir, apparently this resort opened in as early as 2019. So since the governors and the other officials are members of the Protected Areas Management Board, should they have not taken the initiative even before the viral post came out and even before the DNR had to step in?
Well, I cannot speak for the other previous governors, because my engagement only comes together when the present governor, Governor Aris, assumed office. I suppose they also have their own defenses that they will raise before the office of the Ombudsman. But as far as Governor Aris is concerned, and the mayors who have just assumed office in 2022, that's the line of argument that they will raise in the motion for reconsideration.
Attorney Lagunay, I remember we had you here on this show. Iba pa po yung mga co-hosts ko noon. To talk about this issue, right? And before you were explaining na you were looking into it, ano po yung nahanap ninyo sa sarili ninyong investigasyon? What really went wrong? Were you able to ascertain kung anong nagyari exactly?
Well, in the course of getting into the bottom of it, and when we were there at the hearing at Congress and at the Senate, ang lumalabas talaga is that this land at the Captain's Peak has been titled. It's covered by a certificate of title. There's private ownership. And then the private owner thought of making use and exercising his right of ownership, wanted to construct the resort. And so he went through the process, asked permission from the PAMB, and the PAMB also considered this land, which is titled, gave the go signal under certain conditions. So it's basically giving the owner, which appears on the document, which appears on the title, the right to exercise his right of dominion.
Paano na title yung property, sir?
Well, the land has been declared as alienable and disposable.
As early
Even
as 2005,
before,
no, yung title niya.
yes, even before the area has been declared as part of NIPAS, no, even before it was declared as a national monument, it's already alienable and disposable. I think even in the 1920s, in the 1930s. So that's the crux of the matter.
But after it was declared as a protected area, could not the provincial government and other national agencies have done something to, because it's protected area, that supersedes. Tama po ba?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
binili sana or
Yeah, and-
binayaran,
yeah.
inexpropriate.
Dapat. We raised that during the congressional hearing because it's really tantamount to taking away a private property without just compensation. And I hope that's going to be one of the amendments that will be introduced in the INIPAS Act.
Well, Attorney, the Ombudsman did cite grave misconduct on the part of the local officials. But on the side din naman po ni Mayor Suarez, he claimed that an ECC is not a requirement for a business permit. Sinabi rin po ng ibang officials, some of the clearances were issued in good faith. So, based on your legal assessment, Attorney, does that really amount to grave misconduct?
Well, that's the take, no? That's how the Office of the Ombudsman see it. And so, yeah, actually, Mayor Suarez has his own private lawyer who is handling his defense about this. I'm just saying this from the perspective of the provincial government as the provincial legal officer. Even Governor Aumentado has his own private lawyer taking care of his defense.
Now, moving forward, no, Attorney, ano pong nagawa ninyo since sumabog itong Captain's Peak issue? I think that was late 2023. Have you guys started checking on other resorts? Because there was another resort on another chocolate hill, di ba, nung time na yon, yung may slide.
Yeah.
Oo. May nagawa
Yes,
na po ba
that's true.
tayo sa mga ganon, yung mga baka nasa NIPAS pero privately owned at titulado?
Yes, the governor has issued several memoranda or directing the local government officials in areas which are declared as protected area to see to it that there is no additional construction. So even this even affected the construction of school buildings because an ECC is now required. And after the Captain's Peak issue came out, the DENR centralized the issuance of ECC, no longer at the regional offices, and it has created a backlog. So many school buildings could not be completed and could not proceed with construction for lack of an ECC. And the governor made sure that there is no further violation to adhere to the INIPAS Act.
Well, because it's stating the obvious. This is a protected area. It's hailed around. It's a tourist spot. It should be, you're the guardians. And, well, I don't know the legalities. It may be a sin of omission na sana kayo nang nagbantay, yung hinayaan pang lumaki. And, well, you're paying the price. I'm sorry to put it that way, but...
Yeah, we really have to strike a balance. There are social issues involved also
Pero
here.
sir, a resort in Chocolate Hills, it's really an eyesore. And not just that, it's a protected area. And syempre, if you're building, masisira yung ecosystem doon. So
Yes, we
how
agree.
can you rationalize it as a parang, you know, I don't know, social issue?
Yeah, we really agree that it's an eyesore. The PAMBI, when they issued the resolution, they put conditions that it should blend with the environment and like that. But one thing, when this area has been declared protected, there are flat lands and they are rice land. And it even prevented the farmers from tilling the land. And many were protesting why they could no longer till the land just because it's a protected area. And that's why there has to be some amendment that has to do to exclude the flatlands. But in the later law that came out, the flatlands were again included as protected area. So that's what the local officials are struggling, how to strike the balance. Because in the early 90s, when this first came out as protected area issued by President Ramos, it's one of the reasons why quite a number of Boholanos went to the other side. And this is really what we are trying to address, that it will not be repeated at this time. So that's why we are hoping to strike a balance with some amendments of the INIPAS Act.
Attorney, I'm curious, ano na po ba nangyari dun sa Captain's Peak Resort? I don't know if this is their official page, but they just said na they're temporarily closed. Is the structure still there? And if yes, can it be demolished?
Captain's Peak, as far as we know, remains closed. Whether or not they will be demolished, we have to await an official order from the proper government authority. But we can anticipate that the owner might be asking for just compensation because he was given permit to build it.
And who is the proper government authority tasked to make these decisions, attorney?
Well, usually it's the building official. They have the power to issue such a demolition order.
Of the municipality or of the province?
Of the municipality. We have no building official in the province, only in the municipality.
So the defense of the governor is that he had nothing to do with the permits that allowed the construction of this resort there.
That's correct.
All right.
He has nothing to do.
Okay, but he could have acted earlier to, because it was there for everyone to see. When he assumed office, he could have acted as a member of the PAMBI, the Protected Areas Management Board. Isn't that the main reason why there is this case now with the Ombudsman?
Actually, the Captain's Peak is not in plain view. Mostly, many of us thought that when we go to the view deck of the main Chocolate Hills, when you will look down, you can see Captain's Peak. No, it's not there. It's in another town. It's far away, and it's not really visible publicly. You have to travel inland to really
But
see it.
there are
And-
tours
and-
on the ground, sir, in the Chocolate
Yeah.
Hills, diba? You can go around.
Yeah, but that's not the area. And the governor, I can only speak about Governor Aris. I cannot speak about the previous governors. Governor Aris just assumed June 30 of 2022. And later on, it came out in the news, and immediately he issued an order to investigate why it's there.
Pero as governor
So-
po, dapat alam mo yung nangyayari sa iyong probinsya kahit hindi kita sa view deck. I mean, right?
Well, looking in hindsight, no? Looking on hindsight, dapat nga, but the fact is, he just knew about it when it first came out in the news.
So paano yun, at this point, attorney, no, medyo it's been over a year since that issue of Captain's Peak was in the news. May mga nahanap po ba kayong mga questionable na mga establishments on perhaps tituladong mga protected areas pa? Or is everything clear?
Actually, there are other sites that were found and identified. Yes, some small, sari-sari store, mga talyer, ganon.
Pero may titulo rin
There-
po sila. May titulo.
May titulo, yeah, may titulo. There are also some na resorts, ganon, and the Ombudsman is looking into it.
Sino po yung pwede
And-
magbawi nung titulo, attorney? Or
Pwede
mag-expropriate? Oo.
Well, the national government, perhaps, no, if they really want to
Yeah.
take it back, they could take the proper action. Maybe the Office of the Solicitor General could take the initiative.
Right. There has to be a comprehensive approach to this. If this is really if the government really wants to put its authority behind this being a protected area.
I agree. It has to be comprehensive, and all issues has to be examined and dealt with, and the compensation aspect of a private property that has to be given consideration.
All right, Attorney, we thank you so much for your time. That was Bhol Provincial Legal Officer Handel Lagunay.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, there is a push for the return of random drug testing at the Senate after an employee there was allegedly caught using marijuana. The big story will be right back. Stay tuned.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News. Senators want random drug tests back. This is the sentiment after news of alleged marijuana use inside the Senate building broke yesterday. The Office of the Sergeant-at-Arms said there have been 2 reports of burnt marijuana smell detected coming from a women's restroom at the Extension Office for the Senate staff. The OSAA report named former actress Nadia Montenegro as the staff suspected of smoking pot in the ladies' room. Montenegro works for Senator Robin Padilla as a political affairs officer. She has since denied the allegation. Padilla's chief of staff, Attorney Philip Jurado, also denied reports Montenegro had resigned from her post. Jurado said Montenegro is just on a leave of absence and has been given until Tuesday next week to respond to the Senate investigation. Among the senators calling to bring back random drug tests are Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto and Senators Bato de la Rosa and JV Ejercito.
Nakakahiya yan, nakakahiya sa mga kababayan natin. Sa Senado pa, ang kapal naman nila.
Very good, very good. Pabor na pabor ako niyan. Para ang workplace natin sa Senado ay drug-free.
Oh, bakit hindi? Wala naman tayong tinatago eh.
In other news, PAGCOR supports the order of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to delink online gambling sites from e-wallets. According to PAGCOR Chairman and CEO Al Tenco, this move will definitely result in the weakening of the industry. That's because it will no longer be that convenient to play the games. Tenco admits they are also troubled by the onslaught of illegal gambling websites, but PAGCOR's hands are tied. Under the agency's mandate, PAGCOR can only report illegal sites to the National Telecommunications Commission, Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, and PNP Anti-Cybercrime Unit.
Ang nai-report na po namin sa DICT at 12,000 na. At ang naibababa nila ay kulang 8,000 na. Ang problema dahil sa advancement sa technology, napakabilis na magbukas ulit ng site, mga illegal sites na to sa ibang pangalan na within 24 to 48 hours. Bukas na naman sila pag sinara mo. Kaya nga it's a cat and mouse situation eh.
On Thursday, the Bangko Sentral issued a directive to all BSP-supervised institutions, or BSIs, to remove links providing in-app gambling access from their payment apps and websites within 48 hours. The memo covers not just e-wallets, but also banks' payment apps and websites and other BSIs, as well as any product, service, or feature that redirects an account holder to a gaming or gambling website. Maya announced that effective Saturday, August 16 at 8 o'clock p.m., access to gaming sites and apps will be disabled. Before this date, those who have remaining funds from linked gaming accounts can transfer money to their Maya wallets via the Games feature. After the deadline, users can withdraw these funds directly from the gaming provider's site. Maya has ensured no other financial services will be affected during the implementation of the BSP memo. GCash, on the other hand, will cancel access to gaming via GLife also on Saturday, August 16, also at 8 p.m. Users may withdraw from their funds from their gaming accounts and put them into their GCash wallets only until that time.
On to another story. The Philippine National Police will maintain the status quo with no immediate changes to its top officials. This is despite a resolution from the National Police Commission directing the PNP to reinstate Police Lieutenant General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. as Deputy Chief for Administration. The resolution also nullifies other recent appointments made in the latest PNP personnel revamp. PNP Directorate for Personnel and Records Management Director, Police Major General Constancio Chinayog Jr. says he has not yet received any orders from PNP Chief Police General Nicolas Torre to act on it. For now, Nartates remains commander of the Area Police Command, Western Mindanao, while 12 other officials will keep their current posts. So far, neither General Torre nor his spokesperson, Police Brigadier General Jean Fajardo, has commented on the matter. Meanwhile, there are reports of unrest among some officials over the NAPOLCOM resolution, citing that the Commission has no legal authority to confirm nor veto appointments made by the PNP chief.
We're going to be pausing for another quick break, but when we return, another Chinese vessel was spotted shadowing a Philippine Coast Guard ship, this time just 24 nautical miles off of Manila Bay. That story and more when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back to the big story. China Coast Guard 3306, the ship that blasted water cannons on a BIFAR vessel in Bajo de Masinloc last August 11, has been spotted again near Philippine waters. PCG saw the Chinese vessel 58 nautical miles from Capones Island in Zambales. PCG already deployed BRP Cape San Agustin to drive away the Chinese vessel. The PCG also clarified the Chinese ship did not actually enter Manila Bay. Recall that Sea Light Maritime Transparency Group spotted the same Chinese ship poised to tail BRP Cape San Agustin. Sea Light's founder and director Ray Powell warned of possible increased aggression from China, especially after the August 11 collision.
It may be connected. It may be that they are going to go take the extra mile, as it were, to make sure that every time a ship comes out of the Philippines archipelagic waters, that there's a China Coast Guard ship there to keep an eye on it. And I think that could relate to the fact that they're, again, hypersensitive about what happened on Monday.
Meanwhile, Navy spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Roy Vincent Trinidad, hopes China has learned its lesson. Recall that the PCG offered medical assistance to the Chinese vessels involved in the accident, even after these chased the PCG.
I hope na they would learn their lesson. I hope that the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party would be able to look after the welfare of their men and not make them cannon fodder. Huli, wala na sawi. Ay kakalimutan nila, sweep it under the rug and move on as if nothing happened.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has said, quote, the Philippines bears no responsibility for the collision and that while it was an unfortunate outcome, it is not one caused by our actions. In fact, Lazaro said China still has to pay off damages incurred by Philippines resupply ships in Ayungin Shoal in June of last year. According to Senator Ping Lacson, if in case it's a Philippine ship that got wrecked, the Mutual Defense Treaty between the Philippines and the United States can be invoked. Malacanang, for their part, insisted the government is all after fighting for and protecting our sovereignty.
Ang malinaw doon, pagka na-attack yung public vessel ng either US or Pilipinas, magti-trigger ng Mutual Defense Treaty. Wag sana mangyari ang ang iniisip natin na posibleng mangyari kasi magti-trigger talaga ng ng World War III.
Tayo ay hindi aatras sa laban, pero hindi po tayo nagpo-provoke. We are not waging any war against any country.
And now joining us to give insights on the recent developments at Bajo de Masinloc and of course talk about her film is Baby Ruth Villarama, director of the 2025 docu-film Food Delivery, which highlights the lives and struggles of Filipino fishermen, Navy and Coast Guard personnel in the West Philippine Sea. Good evening, Baby Ruth, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Sarah, Shawn, and Pauline. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
You know, the goings on now in the West Philippine Sea just highlight how dangerous it was for you and your crew to make that documentary. Share with us the experience that you had, especially also the experience of the characters that, or the real people that are in your film.
Well, yeah, definitely the danger is there, not just to mount the documentary, but for us, to stay silent about the issue. As independent filmmakers, we thought maybe there's something we can do to humanize and put an actual face into the West Philippine Sea. So, I mean, facing all those Chinese vessels shadowing us, not knowing if we can return safely on shore, and also, making sure that the safety of our fisher folk, especially our subjects, are at the most top priority. So, we're at the middle of it, and with the issue still happening, I think, it's very important for people to really know what's going on.
You must be elated, maybe that's an understatement, over, the screening of your film finally, and for Filipinos to be able to see it. Tell us about, the experience also of having been pulled out suddenly by our own countrymen, for your film being pulled out, must have been, so disappointing.
Yeah, it's definitely a punch in the gut, and also there was a lot of frustration on our part because we were trying to navigate it carefully also, because the very festival that pulled us out was the festival who supported the making of the film. So how do you balance that? But at the same time,
quite ironic, no? Quite ironic. But do you forgive them for what they did, or how? How is that situation there? They had to succumb to pressure. They had to succumb to pressure.
Well, the official statement was it was due to external factor, that they were left with no choice but to pull out the film. And what happened in New Zealand, that the Chinese consulate really exposed themselves when they sent an email and been calling cinemas to pull out the screening of the film there. We're just very grateful that the festival there did not stoop down and really expose the email, published it online. So I think what happened in New Zealand might have happen also here in the Philippines. And with very limited screenings that we have here right now, I think the pressure is still going on.
Maybe Ruth, can you take us back to the shoot and the inspiration? Now Senator Marcoleta ba talaga yung nagbigay sa'yo ng inspirasyon para gawin tong pelikula na to, tong documentary na to? No, I've been curious because it's all over social media and I thought, why not just ask you straight up?
I think it's a amalgamation or a combination of all that. When he made that statement, syempre, taas kilay tayo na parang, is it true? I mean, after, recurring reports that our own journalists have been chased week in and week out, every week there are incidents. Now, almost every day, meron ulit. So, as a storyteller, we have to really sit down and think straight. Like, the curiosity came in, like, is there a West Philippine Sea, or is it a false claim by Senator Marcoleta? So we just picked up our camera and then went out there, and then when we affirmed that, okay, we have a good story here, and that the fisher folk are really frustrated about the situation, and it's affecting their daily lives already. So we thought, okay, now we have a solid story to pitch. That's the food delivery idea, because we have to bring the story closer to our stomach. And if these fishermen decide one day that we don't want to fish anymore, hanggat hindi natatapos yung issue na yan, then we'll be left out with no seafood in our restaurants and in our houses.
How long were you there in that area? How long did you have to immerse in the communities? Can you tell us about that experience, yung actual shoot, yung pag-gather ng mga footage at mga interviews?
Our resources were able to allow us to film intermittently for a total of 60 days. Of course, we spent the first 30 days doing research and capturing moments. I learned from the best, from the Ces Oreña-Drilon, because I grew up in people. We spent 6 years of documenting people's lives, and ang sarap lang, makasama sila, to immerse with them and to join their payaw, their simbada, and witness how beautiful the West Philippine Sea is. It's so beautiful and pristine, I'm telling you guys. There should be more expedition on that place.
And I believe, Direk, but that this idea for food delivery also came because there was that relentless cycle of news reports about the West Philippine Sea. We were being bombarded by all this information, and this documentary humanizes the people who are there, the Coast Guard personnel, Navy, and even the fishermen. And I wanted to ask, what did you learn about them during this whole filming process? Because I believe in the film, you didn't really use narrators or hosts. You let them speak for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I realized that, our fellow Filipinos, they're equipped with, intellect, and they have a voice. It's just that we're not giving them the proper platform and allowing them to express it. So there's really no need for the voice of God or for us to interfere with their story. We just allow them, actually, we just allowed ourselves to be witness of their adventure, of how free it is to be at sea, away from their nagging wives, and for them to feel that joy of capturing these schools of fish, tons and tons of fish in one net. And for us, parang, wow, it's like, I don't know, it's like a playground for everyone. And for them to understand how nature works and for them to know the balance of our biodiversity. I think we're not giving them the due respect and protection that they deserve.
Very true, very true. For instance, buwis buhay talaga yung mga mangingisda in those tiny boats in the deep sea. That's
exactly
crazy.
Yeah, and they're the one who are making their own boats because we don't have a well-developed shipyard. I based on our research before, we have a robust shipyard industry here in the Philippines. We make boats
No, we
for
still
other
do.
countries.
Meron, Subic and Cebu.
Yeah, but it needs more support so that we
Yes.
can invest in Southeast Asia again. Kumbaga, the
Definitely.
opportunity is there because our fisher folk are one of the best sea navigators in the world, if you ask me.
I want to ask you how you felt about for instance, those in our outposts, the Coast Guard and the Navy, they're just left there with very little to sustenance. I mean, yun na, kaya nga kailangan mag-deliver ng food, pero there are modern ways and better ways. It opened our eyes also. I saw your film, and kudos, but I felt in a way shameful about our national government actually. Parang, can't we put some money there? Fishermen and those who are guarding our sea. What do you feel?
You're
Well,
definitely
you're
right.
documenting, pero ako, I'm giving my opinion.
No, you're definitely right because we are an archipelagic country. Imagine 7,000 islands or more. And we only have, I cannot even say the number of vessels we have because we might put our own country at risk at risk of our national security. But we definitely need more vessels to navigate around our seas. And that's why I also discovered how important the relationship is between the Coast Guard and our fisher folk. Because in Subic alone, there are about 5,000 boats. So these 5,000 boats are also serving as parang mga guardians of the sea. Our national government has very limited water assets. So nagre-radio na lang sila sa ating mga kababayang mangingisda. Parang, especially pag may nawawalang mangingisda, incidents, it's always the fisher folk who receive the brunt of those incidents and also who witness it firsthand.
And Direk, siguro ano ba yung talagang lumitaw dun sa pag-shoot mo from your stay there, dun sa relationship nila? I mean, what is the public not seeing which compelled you to actually make a film about it?
Well, definitely Chinese vessels are all over our country right now. They are hovering our islands. Scarborough Shoal is so important because if the weather is bad, that is a sanctuary, like a pit stop for our fisher folk to go so they can be safe. Not only for Filipino fisher folk, but fisher folk from Vietnam and Taiwan and as far as Indonesia. Scarborough Shoal assures safety for everyone. So with China, guarding that area, there's always a question at what would happen to our fishermen, if they get lost at sea. And the relationship of the fisher folk and the natural environment, because all of their payaos have been destroyed. And these payaos cost hundreds of thousands. These fisher folk are investing their own money and they're getting loans to be able to fish properly. So if Chinese are destroying their payaos, we're really destroying our food chain.
Were you harassed at all in one of those 60 shooting days that you had? Did you witness it?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, there were drones shadowing. Well, the ships are always
They
shadowing.
looked like hundreds of drones that shot.
Yeah.
It looked unbelievable. Talaga ba?
Yes, para silang Chinese New Year and they're blending like stars. Because these Chinese, they're very, very clever. Di ba pag mga Chinese New Year drones, you can program that and design a shape whatever you like.
So that was already trying to intimidate you or scare you into, I'm sure alam nila yung you were shooting.
Maybe, I mean, definitely we look like civilians, going on a tour with cameras. But we have to follow protocol also from the captain. If the captain says you have to shut down your cameras and shut down all the lights, especially at night, then wala kang choice. Parang, ay, okay, sabi ni captain. Even with the fishing vessel, when they said, let's just sleep first. Wag na po.
Baby Ruth, alam mo, iniisip ko, paano ka sa gitna ng dagat for days on end? Hindi ka na naliligo, hindi ka nagbabanyo, etc.
Nana Buksani, yung cinematographer. I mean, the great Nana Buksani. Ayaw talaga niyang maligo. Sabi niya, Direk, 33 men are with us. Tayong babae. Yung isa mangingisda pa. Ayoko maligo. Sabi ko, ay naku, Nana, maliligo talaga ako. I brought an umbrella. Meron naman parang yung plywood. They made that just for us.
For you.
Yeah, may plywood, nilaglagay sila ng maliit na toilet. And then you have to really, it's really an amazing experience. You know, there's a small pail and nakatali sa lubid. And then you have to get water from the sea. So you have to hold on to something kasi baka matangay ka sa lakas ng
Amazing.
alon.
Even the making. Meron bang behind the scenes? You should do the making of.
Oo nga, no?
And I think the making of is a film in itself with all the bureaucracy and all the nightmares we had to experience with the AFP. That's another story.
But we understand the Coast Guard is also in support of screening the film, reaching a big audience as possible. Tell us about where we can see your film. How?
Yeah, right. Right now, we are screening in selected Ayala cinemas, Metro Manila, Cebu, Bacolod, Cavite, and Cagayan de Oro, and also Gateway in Cubao. So until the 19th of August. And then I think Mega World just announced that they will house us starting August 20.
What about schools? Kasi sabi ni PCG...
Does that need a Senate resolution or a House
There
resolution?
was a screening
or
recently in Congress, di ba, Direk?
sabay-sabay na tayo na excited.
Yes, ladies. Yes, madams. We had a screening, a special screening at Congress hosted by Representative Chel Jokno and the WPS bloc because it's very important for the congressman to really also saw the human face of the West Philippine Sea. So we had a screening there. About 25 congressmen and women attended the screening. And
Only?
Lang?
Yes, and some of them had to leave for their meetings because there were a lot of things going on that day. And we offered the film. Sabi ko nga, isang sine kada distrito, isang food delivery for the West Philippine Sea. Imagine if one congressman or woman can host a screening in their respective district, then I think we can share the story of the fisher folk to many people, especially the students.
Yeah, the students were what Commodore Tariela was saying. He wanted to bring him down to schools because you're right. He did actually ask Congress for 5 extra votes after your screening in Congress. But what about the schools?
To that. Yeah.
Have you spoken to DepEd perhaps or anything like that?
Yeah, we had a special screening with ASEC Irene of the Department of Education a few days ago, and they pledged to support us. I think it's just a matter of paperwork and waiting for the right memo to be cascaded down to the regional directors, I don't know, so that they can officially request for the films. But as far as we're concerned, we're ready to send the film. So far ngayon, we just have to respect the windowing of the cinemas within the month of August. And September, we're hoping that other cinemas can follow. Naman that most of the cinemas, majority of the cinemas here are run by SM and Robinson, especially in the provinces. So if they open their cinemas, then definitely they can experience the West Philippine Sea because this is the first Filipino documentary mastered in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. So I really
the sound
wish
is amazing.
Diba? Yeah.
Direct, as early as now, do you already have plans for a part 2, a sequel, or maybe another documentary featuring other personalities in this story?
Well, if we can make the part 1 successful and make our producers happy, then I'm confident that perhaps pwede tayong bigyan ng pagkakataon gumawa ng sequel number 2 because there's so many angles pa that we haven't touched, like the environmental impact of this conflict, and also the Chinese side. Sabi ko nga, I was just speaking with Howie Severino. Na sabi ko, with your lens, maybe there could be like an investigative angle to this. Like how does the Chinese community feel about this story? Are they aware, especially China? Like it would be interesting to also know how Chinese people in the mainland, are they aware about this issue, this conflict? Because they have a different narrative being played there.
True, parang hindi rin nila alam. Pure Gold should be proud of you, actually. She's mom. I'm trying to elicit a reaction here. Ang galing mo, ha? But what's been the response of the viewers? What was very notable to you?
For me, it's the shock value of not realizing how close West Philippine Sea is to them. Like, that is also shocking. Like, they thought like it's very abstract, it's very out there, it's far from, their concern. But like was it yesterday or the other day, we had a screening at Gateway with Mayor Joy Belmonte and some of the high school students in Quezon City. And they were crying because they thought West Philippine Sea is so far. And they realized, oh my God, we can be invaded in less than 24 hours if we don't fight for our territories. Speaks also about personal boundaries, because that's also an interesting realization on some of the audience that, we're not just talking about West Philippine Sea as a territorial matter. We're also talking about our personal boundaries and how do we protect it when someone is trying to, encroach our personal space. Sometimes it's cultural that, we're just allowing different forces to invade us. May ganong conversation na lumalabas.
They were able to translate it into their own experiences. That's very interesting.
That's quite interesting. And I realized, like, maybe cinema is indeed a mirror, of our own lived experience when we see other people on the big screen and we connect to them in such a special way. Maybe.
Maybe, Ruth, we thank you so much for your time. One parting shot before we let you go.
I just want to say thank you for TV5 for giving me the platform. We're very independent. We're doing this DIY, but with you coming to the cinemas, organizing block screenings, this film is not just about me as a filmmaker. This film is about our own survival and our own freedom. And we have to protect the West Philippine Sea hanggat kaya pa natin, hanggat maliit pa lang yung mga kinukuhat at binabantayan ng China. And we don't hate China. We respect their culture, but I hope that they can respect our shared history and our relationship moving forward, because we don't want war, but we want our freedom to be respected.
Thank you so much. Very well said. You've turned an abstract idea into something very real for Filipinos. Thank you. That was Baby Ruth Villarama, director of the docu-film Food Delivery.
And we circle back to our top story, which is President Marcos seeing for himself some state-funded projects in Bulacan. The chief executive has earlier encouraged Filipinos to report such projects to him via the Isumbong sa Pangulo website that has since received over 1,000 posts. But this one didn't make it online. Our big picture tonight is a handwritten letter from a resident of Kalumpit, Bulacan, addressed to Mr. Marcos. It raised concerns over a supposed poor construction of a dike, use of substandard materials, and improper removal of water lilies clogging local waterways. The resident said these problems have caused flooding that damages homes and farmlands and calls for immediate repairs and stronger flood control measures. All right, and that's it for the big story this week. Thanks so much for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
We'll be back here Monday at 7:30 p.m. Have a great weekend, everyone.